Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Now I'll start with a series where you'll get a lot to know about genetics and about some very basic concepts that are very important in order to understand what really the genetics is. So let's start. The term genetics was coined by William Bateson in 1906 and he is also known as father of modern genetics. So what is genetics? Genetics is a branch of biology concerned with study of genes, genetic variations and inheritance. It is basically the study of inheritance and variation. So what is inheritance? Inheritance refers to the genetic heritage passed down by our biological parents, and that's the reason why we look like them. More specifically, it is the transmission of traits from one generation to the next. These traits can be physical, such as eye color, blood type, or a disease or behavior. For example, hygienic behavior of honeybees that drives them to remove sick larvae from the nest is inherited behavior. Now let's understand what is gene and what is its role. The gene is the basic physical and functional unit of inheritance. These are the keywords. Genes are the inherited factors which determines biological characters of an organism. In simple words, genes contain the information that is needed to be passed from parents to offspring and that produces specific trait or character in an offspring. Now let's understand some basic terms in order to understand what is inheritance. First is haploid. Haploid is a quality of a cell or organism having single set of chromosomes. For example, humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes, means in total they have 23 plus 23, that is 46 chromosomes. Now if we consider sperm or egg, they have only half set of chromosomes, that is 23. That means they are haploid. Now when they fuse, that is during fertilization, the zygote that will be formed will have total 46 chromosomes, 23 from sperm and 23 from egg. In total 46 chromosomes, and this will be called as diploid. So diploid is a cell or organism that has paired chromosome, one from each pairing. So somatic cells, they are diploid, whereas gametes such as eggs and sperm, they are haploid. Now every single gene can have several variants called allele. These are the different forms of each gene which are located at the same position or genetic locus on a chromosome. There are two copies of each gene in our cell. One of the copies comes from the sperm and the other one comes from the egg. These copies may not necessarily be identical, but if they are identical, we say that the individual is homozygous for that gene. But if the copies are different, the gene is heterozygous. Now, if both the alleles are different and one of these alleles is dominant and being able to express itself, that is its traits or character from that allele is observable, that allele will be known as dominant, and the other one whose traits or character remains unobserved or hidden is known as recessive allele. Now the morphological character or external appearance of an individual which is observable is called as phenotype. Example, height of an individual. And the genetic constitution of an individual or complete set of genes are called as genotype. For example, the gene or alleles for the height of an individual will be either capital H and capital H, or capital H small h, or small h and small h. Now let's understand it with the help of an example. Let's consider a particular trait of an individual, which is individual's height. Suppose the height of an individual is tall and genetic constitution or allele for this trait is capital H and small h. Capital H refers to tall height, whereas small h refers to short height. When these alleles are together, it means the gene is heterozygous because it has different variants, that is short as well as tall height. Now if the alleles are capital H and capital H or small h and small h, it would have been homozygous gene. Now if we consider heterozygous allele, that is capital H and small h, even presence of two different variants in a gene, the height of the individual is tall. It means that one of the allele is being able to express itself, that is capital H for tall height. This means that this is the dominant allele whose character is observable in an individual, whereas the other allele which is not being expressed even when it is present, it is called as recessive allele. All of you must have read about yeast, but have you ever thought how does it produces identical offspring? What do your intestine and developing frog all have in common? Among other things, they all have cells that carry out mitosis, that are dividing to produce more cells that are genetically identical to themselves. Now let's understand what is mitosis. It is the type of cell division in which one cell divides to produce two new cells that are genetically identical to itself. The greater majority of the cell division that happens in our body involves mitosis. During development and growth, the mitosis populates the organism's body with cells, and throughout an organism's life, it replaces old, worn-out cells with new ones. For single-celled eukaryotes like yeast, mitotic divisions are actually a form of reproduction, adding new individuals to their population. In all these cases, the goal of mitosis is to make sure that each daughter cell gets perfect full set of chromosomes. Now coming to meiosis. Meiosis is a special type of cell division in sexually reproducing organisms used to produce gametes such as sperm or egg cells. It involves two rounds of divisions that ultimately results in 4 cells with one copy of each chromosome, that is haploid. Means that mitosis produces diploid cells, whereas meiosis produces haploid cells. Now coming to next, heredity and variations in sexual reproduction. In this video I have explained to you about heredity, but in next video I'll be explaining you about variations, and that's gonna be really very interesting. So variations are common in animals or plants which reproduce by sexual means. The reason for this is that sexual reproduction is biparental, means it involves two parents and it involves meiosis and fertilization, and the offspring receives some character from father and some from mother due to crossing over of the chromosome during meiosis, and there results in variations in the offspring with respect to their parents. And that's the reason that even when we look like our parents, but still there are some variations in us. Then comes heredity and variation in asexual reproduction. The organisms like bacteria, amoeba, euglena, rose, etc. reproduce by asexual means. Asexual reproduction is monoparental, means it involves only one parent, and it involves mitosis, and the offsprings or daughter cells produced are the carbon copy of its parents, as it inherits all the traits of its single parent. The offsprings, which is a 2-carbon copy of its parents, is known as ramete, and a group of rametes is called as clone. That's all for today. If you found it interesting, then do like my video and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you, friends.